we're going to talk about something pretty fun today. And it's something that I think is a subject that many game masters in all kinds of games talk about a lot, especially in Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, maybe more 3.5 versus what we see now in Pathfinder 2. A lot of the games have tried to do stuff with a little thing called min-max.
Right. I mean, but ultimately, there basically is one build that's best for each class. And there's a lot of people that spend a whole lot of time figuring out what that is, and that's the only way to play the game. So you really don't have a lot of variation. A paladin has these stats. A magic user has these stats.
It's pretty crazy when you have players that will literally map out their character to level 20.
Yeah.
Like, I need to take this feat, then this feat, then this feat, then
sure.
This skill's got to be this, and I got to take this class and this class and this class.
I wish real life worked like that, because I could just figure out where I was going and what I'd be doing. So
it would make it a lot easier. But man, there is a lot of the min-maxing going on in a lot of games, and can we say cookie cutter?
Right, and that's what it creates. And you know, my opinion, and you know, this may not be shared by everyone, but you know, a lot happened when they started making really only one modifier for each attribute. Mm-hmm. And they really saw that as progress, because now that you don't have to look at that thing could do very different things for different kinds of acts. And, you know, a lot of the games nowadays, you know, Shadow Dark, for example, you know, those modifiers only apply to certain actions and they have no impact on other actions, which is great for simplicity's sake. And, you know, that is certainly a system that people have enjoyed, but I think all of that always encourages min-maxing to accomplish certain goals. So if you want to be a thief and you want to do certain things, you're still going to have dexterity right there up at the top, right? Because it's going to be about sneaking and it's going to be about ranged weapons. And the other ones don't have anything to do with that. Yeah. So, you know, that is a difficulty.
It certainly is. I mean, you and I met a long time ago playing Pathfinder Society, right?
Correct.
Tell me about your experience that you had at the table when you just were trying to play a character that you thought in your mind, and you had this character idea, and just share your experience about what happened at that table.
I forgot I told you about that, but yeah, I'm sitting next to this guy, and I decided I'm going to make a paladin, right? But I'm thinking, you know, I want to make a paladin who isn't perfect, right? And he had a backstory of why he wanted to be a paladin, and I created all that in my mind because I've always been pretty big in the role-playing part of this. Mm-hmm. So I had a paladin who did not have anywhere near ideal stats to be a paladin at all, right? And I put, you know, a bunch of points in intelligence because he'd been a scholar, but, you know, things that happened that he needed to become a warrior. And so ultimately, you know, he was very ill-suited to be a paladin. But that was kind of the point I was trying to create, a character that was trying to do something he wasn't suited to do. Which, if you look at books, movies, whatever, that is sort of the story that we tell over and over again, right? But we're not experiencing it in these games because that isn't what people are doing, right? But anyway, I was making this character, and this gentleman to my left and his son saw my stats, and he kind of whispers to his dad, he's like, he doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, I just hear him, I'm like, whatever. And he's like, yeah, not everyone knows how to play the game. Right? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I, you know, that's fine. That's what, you know, their position was. He had carefully, I mean, they had, you know, again, the min-max stats. Everything was exactly perfect where it was going to be. You know, but we went a different direction because what we've done is we figured out, you know, to a much smaller level, all the stats, and we use all the same stats. All the games, you know, the big ones use strength, intelligence, wisdom, because we don't want to change up what's great. But, you know, back in the old days, strength did have an impact to hit. It also did damage.
Yeah.
Well, they take that away. But I'll tell you right now, if Giant Barbarian is swinging a big battle axe at me and coming right down on me versus somebody who's swinging it soft, the odds of him crushing me are higher than if he can't swing it hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just like Babe Ruth hit home runs for a reason, right? That was dexterity plus it was strength, right? I mean, but his ability to go through. But ultimately, what it comes down to is a lot of things are factors. And for the most part, almost no games, and I'm not saying all, but have not figured in intelligence and wisdom in combat, right? But someone's intelligence is certainly helpful in how they figure out the combat. And wisdom, which is sort of your, innate sense of what's going on, certainly is important for combat, right? The ability to, go into football, because I got some experience, that quarterback that can sense the guy coming from behind him, right? Can react, move, dodge him. Same thing. Muhammad Ali, the sense of his ability to do the rope-a-dope and move himself around so that he never got punched. All those things come into play. So in our system, all the things come into play. Intelligence helps you attack. It also helps you defend. Wisdom helps you attack, helps you defend. But they aren't set up so that you get these huge bonuses like a lot of the games are. And, dexterity is always going to be a little more helpful for dodging than the other ones. But if you're a fighter and you're dumb as a brick, you're going to suffer for that because you're not smart enough to understand how to dodge. And so we have really made it hard to min-max. Wizards get extra points to cast spells because muscles help you store energy in your body. So being higher in strength, you have more aether points.
As well as constitution.
Correct. Right.
And yes, your intelligence is still very important as a magic user.
Oh, it's paramount. I mean, it is still the most important, but it isn't the only important stat. And you can't ignore the other ones if you really want to be there.
And let's face it, even if you have a mediocre intelligence score, you still could be a very impressive magic user even without a super high intelligence.
Right. And that's the way we want it to be, because we want people to be able to tell that different kind of story as opposed to the same story over and over and over again.
Thank you for joining us for the Lethal Dispatch. We value your feedback and comments. Please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss updates on the Lethal Fantasy Tabletop role-playing game. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Join our Discord channel to chat directly with Lethal Ted and Lethal Eddie and find out what comes next. Lethal Fantasy, the evolution of the tabletop experience.